Am I on? All right. Welcome everybody. We're running a little late. Sorry about that. Having to dual jobs, and for the first night it was kind of confusing for me. So we'll get the check-in. We're going to be working on the check-in process to make it a little bit easier for everybody when they're coming in. So. In the back, back in the back, we have a silent auction going on. I think we got like five different pieces.
Yeah.
I didn't see a Sunday.
Saturday night. We had.
So I'll let everybody get done looking at the table before we get started back there. All right, they're starting to clear out in the back, so we'll go ahead and get going with some announcements. There we go. Now I'm working. All right, to start off with, we have had 25 new members since last. Can you hear me back there? You want to turn me up a little bit? How about now? Can you hear me? All right. We have 25 new members since last November. And we had one more tonight, so we're doing really good. Things coming up is Superstar Weekend on 7th and 8th. Dan will talk about that in a little bit. If anybody knows of a building, of an area, someplace that we can look at, please talk to Jay. Here's his email address. Do I have that right? We need a building for the new shop. Thank you. So we're just out. They're just out looking to see what's actually out there, and if you know of anything good, let them know. Whoa, that got loud. Next, Bob. I know you said we had one hat left? Oh, we got 2 hats left and aprons?
No, we have aprons and the black hats.
Okay. All right. We have aprons and black hats. Right. So if you need anything, see Bob. And again, raffle tonight, only one winner per person, per night. Auction tonight, I will end the auction in the back at around 8:15. And I'll give you about a 10-minute warning that it's going to be gone. Shop will be open on Monday. It's an additional day. And it says it's going to be cold, but I'll be there. I'm the shop monitor, so. Let's see. We have coming up. We also have the first Thursday of next month. It will be the safety class. And now, hey, what's that? Yes. No, Friday is the meet with the guy for the directors and stuff, and the 8th is the actual the day of the Superstar weekend. And here's Jay. Dan. Jeez. I've been going in 8
That's right.
directions tonight, so.
I want to say thank you to those that have registered as of this evening. We've got 32 people, so it's going to be a success just by having those 32 people there. We've got room for more. We're going to have great door prizes, and I will take your money this evening. If you have check or cash, $50. You don't even need then to deal with the internet. Just send it my way. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, I know we have one new member tonight, and I think I don't know if we got any visitors or not, but where's our new member at? Stand up and wait for a microphone and tell us about yourself. Oh, there he is over here.
Am I required to speak?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, here you are.
Introduce yourself and tell us about your woodworking interest. I'm Joe Grayson. I have a really odd sounding voice, or at least I do to me. I'm a transplant from Virginia, and actually my cup of tea is more metalworking. When I was 55, I started blacksmithing. Did that full time for about 10 years, and but then a bunch of things happened. We landed up being here in Missouri, so I'm looking for a place where I can be with people other than my wonderful wife to actually enjoy some stuff. But the other thing, I keep moving this away because I'm having trouble with it. Closer is not going to help.
Yeah.
Oh, it does, all right. I've been doing a lot of boat modeling, kind of stuff that you see in museums, and I have a couple boats that are, depending on how raunchy the museum is, maybe one or two would fit in there. But I'm hoping to find people that like that, and I thought, well, this is the only game in town, so. But I wanted to join also because getting too old to want to buy things like planers and stuff like that. So anyway, that's
All right.
all you're going to get from me.
Thank you. Welcome. I think that was it, right? Oh, nope. Here, we went over here.
I'm Nathan Hull. I'm here because I'm a friend of Dan's, and he told me about the Woodworkers Guild, and so I don't know how long it's been you've been telling me about this, but I'm still working 40 or 50 hours a week, so I'm not doing too much woodworking, but when I do, I build toys for my grandchildren, primarily, scroll saw stuff, jack of all trades, master of none. Thanks.
All right. Welcome. All right. Anybody else? I look around and I see all faces that I recognize, so. All right. Dave wants to talk about.
Well, I just need to make an announcement that I will be looking for new safety monitors, and I'll be running a safety monitors class, I believe March 29th is what I have scheduled for that.
All right.
So if anyone is interested in possibly becoming a shop safety monitor, I'm going to be looking for some. You just need some basic knowledge about the machinery, and we'll go from there. Okay?
All right.
So if you are, let me know. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, upcoming classes. February 1st, we have a Mox and Vice class that we've heard that a lot of people want. Corey, is the class full?
It's easier just to stand up and take 5 seconds. Yes, the Mox and Vice class is completely, totally full. Most of the classes in February are already full, and I'm keeping a close eye on it. So if anybody is wanting to step away from there, is wanting to actually still try to get in on a class, go ahead, email me, drop me a phone call. I will actually take a look, see if there is also too at the same time.
Backwards.
Hopefully that, okay, now. Hopefully that way, if by chance there is a slot still open or available, please get a hold of me, and I will look and see if there is. We'll get you in there as soon as possible. Also too, with the presentations, I'll get ahead here just a little bit. Since I go and cover the presentations tonight, is dealing with SketchUp. Our member Scott Berlinger will actually bring that to you. I'm not going to give away anything because Scott actually has a very well planned out presentation that he's actually going to deliver to us. Other than that, I have nothing at this time, and I hope that everybody's new year has started out great, and we have a lot of projects to do and a lot of classes to visit. Yeah, Bill.
We had one guy drop out of the fundamentals class that started last Sunday. There's another class a week from Sunday, and if anybody would like to jump in, we'll do a makeup class for the one you missed.
All right, thank you. All right, and then we got February 6th is a shop safety class. And then February 23rd is build a sturdy bench. But as we already heard, they're all filled. So. All right, upcoming presentations. Next month is going to be setting up a bandsaw by me. And we're going to be going through the Alex Snodgrass way of setting it up. I've been doing that for maybe 20 years, never had anything fail. I have a really small 9-inch that I've heard a lot of people have problems with, so I'm going to bring my 9-inch in and I'm going to go through the whole thing on that. Then in March, I'm going to do a life and stuff with scroll saws. I've been scroll sawing for 50 years. And I'm going to have different scroll saws here and different things that I've done throughout the year and stuff. And then April. Corey, what's on for April? Oh, that's right. That's
April's
right.
business
Business
meeting.
meeting. Yeah, why do I keep forgetting about that? Yes.
You want me to cover Mays as well here?
Oh,
or-
sure. Go ahead and talk to me.
We'll pass on it for right now.
All right. Okay. Community outreach. I don't see Steve here tonight. So we don't know. Does anybody back there know how many toys we collected tonight? Oh well. Okay. We have collected last year 1,722 toys for the hospitals, and we delivered 1,077. So we still need more toys. Next, community outreach is tables for Home Sweet Home. Tom's not here tonight. We do have 3 kits for tables over here. So if you want to take a table and build it, there are 3 of them over there. Oh. So dining tables throughout the year, we what? 31 total. Sofa and tables, we ended the year with 108. Coffee tables, 11. So for a total of this year is 127, and total I think we've been doing this for 3 years now. I think that, yeah, for 3 years, we've had 350 things made and sent to Home Sweet Home.
Collected, gathered, I guess, wood today, so there is now a nice stock of white oak out in the shed.
Oh, for tables?
For tables.
All
yes.
right. Good. And here's the graph of all the. I gotta come here to read this. The tables by month of all of last year. As you see, the high is 33 in October. And we're just steadily rising up with the table donations every month. For the whole year, we keep getting, we're getting higher and higher. So we're all, people that are doing this are doing a great job. I think the goal for the last year was 130, and we hit 127. So we were just a couple off our goal for last year, and I think, nope, he didn't tell me. And this is the accumulation of everything throughout last year. It looks like we started this as of April 1st, 2022. So first year we did 102, second year we did 121, and then this year 350. So we're doing good. We got to keep this stuff up. Next, Mr. Wayne with Christmas toys. I got a chart here, don't I? Yep. The first one.
Not sure what that one number is there on the right-hand side.
You mean this one right here?
Yeah, 176.
It came, 1,760. It came through when I opened up the piece, so, and I couldn't get rid of it.
Okay. Anyhow, we finished toy delivery the first part of December, and we delivered over 1,700 toys to various nonprofits first part of December, and some of them earlier in the year than that, and brought our total since 2021 up to about 5,800 toys that we've built and delivered. We went to some new places this year, some new nonprofits that needed toys, and we found that we need to supply more toys. We could use 500 more toys without any question, but we're not going to be able to build those on the every other Friday schedule out at the shop. We're about at capacity now. What I'm asking you guys is sometime during the year, go down in your shop when you're not doing anything else, dig out all that scrap you've been saving for some project, and I don't know what that project is, but build some toys. And you can find toy patterns all over the internet. Come out to the shop sometime on a Friday, every other Friday, and we've got 3 notebooks out there full of toy patterns, and I can email you and we can give you samples to work from. But turn out 10 or 20 toys and bring them into us. And I'd like to see if we could hit 2,000 toys on this year coming up. So there is a need for toys out there. People were very grateful to get them. It's the first time we've ever had anybody call us up 5 minutes after we dropped them off and thanking us profusely for the toys, because she was 1,000 toys short of what she wanted to be for Christmas distribution before we went out there. So
We got all that going this year. We started building the first Friday in February. And since Steve's not here, just one comment on the number of toys to be delivered monthly. Guardian Angels would like to have toys. Steve should have talked to them by now. They're going to start out with 50 a month, just like with the hospitals. They need things for the kids at playtime and art time and that type of stuff. So keep building the monthly toys too and bringing them in here.
All right, thank you. And as you can see from up here, here's all of the people that we donated to last year: Toys for Tots, Peace Pantry, LifeWise, Buchanan Foundation, Isaiah Ministries, and Guardian Angel Settlement. And those are all of the ones that Wayne just delivered all of them to. So we got to keep up the good work. Next. Questions and answers. Got a question?
Whoa.
Forgive me for my absent-mindedness, but I should have also mentioned when I had the microphone before that in addition to being the shop manager at Faust Park, I also work at Faust Park, which is probably one of the reasons why I'm the shop manager. But we had a meeting yesterday, and we put the art fair on the calendar for, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, August 16th, I believe,
right.
is the art fair. But the art fair is happening again this year, and that was something that we participated in, I think went well last year. So we can start preparing for the art fair. It's going to be again in August, I believe the 16th, but I'll have to confirm that. Okay.
All right, thank you. Yeah, art fair was fun last year. We had a blast, and boy, did we make the money.
What do we do at the art fair?
We sell all of the products we make. You know, like toys. We had everything from big birdhouses to kids' toys, to ink pens. What else did we have? We had bowls, platters, you know, just about anything any member makes and donates to it, we sold. And let me tell you, we sold.
I appreciate the answer. My rhetorical question. So we donate
Yes,
things that we make, and then the guild can take advantage of it for other.
correct. Yep, and we use that money that we get from there for the toy programs. You're welcome. Any other question? Go. As soon as the microphone gets there.
Does anyone know how to keep a router bit from rising up out of the router when you've got it in a table? I know how to keep it from sinking down, but I've always have to check my work to make sure that that router bit hasn't pushed up, no matter how tight I make that. Yes.
Is the router bit shaft clean?
Yes.
Clean?
Absolutely.
Is the grommet, is the clamping in all three positions?
Yes.
And the other one is, are you bottoming out the bit in the clamp, or are you raising it about an eighth of an
Actually, that's a good question, and
Because there's a radius up there that if you're in that radius, it will loosen up.
No, I told you what I've done is you stick a little rubber grommet down into the collet itself, and that keeps it from bottoming out. So I've already done that, but I always have to check my work. And somebody asked me, I think Leo was asking me about this the other day, and I didn't have an answer for this other than to continually check my work. I'm making doors, so every thousandth of an inch makes a difference because it throws things off.
Did you check the collet? Is the collet
Yeah,
good?
all that's been checked.
But is it
And
new?
Yes, I put in new collets. I put in new router bits, and I'm using half-inch shank.
Are you
bits,
sure
so.
it's your router bit and not your router height moving up and
Yes,
down?
it's the router bit that's moving.
We've had it with multiple routers, that experience.
Yes, and I know Leo's experienced the same problem as I have. And I know we've had this problem at the shop, I think, with some of the router lifts that we had. Did we not?
I believe the router lift did vibrate up and down. I think I turned the speed down on it a little bit.
Okay, and did that help
I think
solve the
so.
problems?
And
Okay.
I called Rockler too, and I got some advice. I can't remember exactly what it was, but tighten something up.
Thank Dave,
I'm
thanks.
sorry.
It's all right.
What kind of router lift do you have?
I've got a router, I got the same one that they have at the shop.
You know, that's why I don't, hopefully nobody's here from Rockler's, but that's the reason why I took mine back and I bought a Jessam, because I can lock mine in, because I could never get the Rockler one tight enough that it didn't move on, did that. Oh yeah, well, I got a Jessam, and when I set it on the height, I lock that thing down, it don't move. And I've had that now for 4 years, and I've never had any problem with mine. I know. But there is something in the way of the router lift. There's a couple bolts and stuff that's underneath there that they said tighten those up, and that's supposed to keep it. But you tighten it up too tight, then you can't crank it up and down. So you get it to the point to where you can loosen it up and down, and then it sits there and raises. And it's like, so I took it back, I got my money back, and I bought a Jessam, and I love it.
The older Jessams do the same thing though.
Oh,
I think they have to tighten what you said.
yeah. But yeah, when I looked, I made sure that I bought one that had a lock on it. And I don't have any problem, and I run a lot of stuff through my router. But yeah, that's one thing I'd check. Any other questions? We got Bob over here.
Okay, I have one of those problems that I'm doing something wrong, but I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I took some cherry, about 4 inches wide, resawed it, edge jointed it first, resawed it down the middle, laid them down, and edge glued them together to make bigger flat panels. Okay, they sat in the clamps for maybe a week. Took them out, planed the board out, true as can be, beautiful, look good. Made the project. About, I don't know, a year later, I started to notice that they started to cup. Why would it do that, and what am I doing wrong? I mean, the wood was dried and climatized to the shop. I waited maybe a week after the glue up before I did the planing. Should I put more time there, or is it a moisture thing, or is it?
It sounds like a moisture problem. It's just stress in the wood has stress in it that makes it curve, and once you cut it, it'll warp again, even though it's been well aged.
So should I cut the resaw it and then let it climatize for a while before I do the glue up? St. Charles Hardwood, that one was probably from, but.
Is it flat sawn, rip sawn, or quarter sawn? Flat sawn will do that.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. I'll have to look.
Just wait a while after you rip it to let it do what it's gonna do.
I think he's onto it. I think the cut of the board, of the original board, might be where the problem came from.
Do you have finish on both sides, Bob?
I'm sorry?
You have finish on both sides?
Yes.
It's all sealed in?
Yeah, it's all sealed after the fact.
Yeah, did you flip them?
I did flip every other one, yeah. So. Okay, I think I need to look at the grain and the wood, the board I'm using.
Did
That
you
might be
band the
key.
outside?
I did not.
You did not. Because I know when I do something like that, I always band the outside, so if something like that doesn't happen. But any other questions? Any other problems? I guess I am. It was thrown to me because Matt can't make it tonight. He's in class. Look in that box right there, right behind you underneath. That may be what that paperwork was from. That's the roll? Okay. welcome. I don't know, I just pulled stuff out of the box. He didn't tell me what was in it or how to sell them, so. Okay, any other questions? All right, let's go on to show and tell. If you have anything for show and tell, come on down and get mic'd up. I gotta go this way. I'm not gonna jump down that thing. I'm getting too old to jump. Oh, I get another ticket. Say that again. Oh, a visitor? Yeah, give him a badge, and have him write down his name, phone number, and stuff on that sheet of paper that's right next to it. Well, this is my my drill press table. I don't know if you remember when I was after I got operated on, I played with my 3D printer, and I created this so I can drill holes and have vacuum underneath here. But then I realized about a month ago that every time I'd go to make toys, I couldn't pull my arm down on my drill press because the piece that came with my table was too high. So I had a 3D printer that kind of just went by the wayside, and it was cheaper to tear it apart and use the pieces. So I used the pieces that I made the slides for this, so for my small toys and small pieces. And then I went, well, I got to have some type of vacuum that goes this way too. So then I printed all of this. So then I printed all this on my 3D printer so it fits my my vacuum hose. And then I started all this other stuff, and I made all the knobs, and I was bored. So and it turned out pretty neat, and it actually works. And it's like, wow. My wife says I have to find some excuse to play with my 3D printer. So that was it.
Yep, I'm on one. Okay, go. Oh, okay. How you doing? I'm Hal Donovan. I'm not standing up, but I'm sitting down over the side table. I just had a couple things I want to show. These were trivets I made for as a Christmas gift. We went to a tile store. My wife picked out 3 different patterns, and basically it's a picture frame with a piece of wood in the bottom of it that the piece of tile lays on, and they were a big hit. One thing I learned about this, my corners were all terrible and had gaps and everything, so I've used the trick before where you use sawdust and glue and just kind of fill the gaps. Well, I had a piece of window screen, so I sifted the sawdust so that only the fine stuff came through, and it really worked well. And I mean, you could barely tell that there had been any gaps there, but I just went back to each one with and mixed it with some Type On 3 and just pushed it in the gaps and sanded it, and it came out fine. It's a cherry that I got at UPick. Okay, next one. This was the second one I made. I found both of these I found on YouTube, but this guy had a project making these Christmas snowflakes out of fence pickets, and you could, out of a single fence picket, you could make 3 of these things. And I bought 2 to start with. I bought a cedar and a pine, and kind of mixed it up, and painted some of them and things like that. Next slide. And once you got all the pieces cut, which is mostly on a chop saw, the guy said, just make this template out of cardboard, and you can knock these things out. He on the video, he put one together in a minute once you have all the pieces together. You staple it or nail it together from behind with the brad nailer and maybe a little glue, especially on the centerpieces. And that's the 6 that we made, my wife and I. So they were cheap as can be, and if anybody's interested, after the meeting, just give me your name and phone number, and I'll look this up and get you the link. Thank you.
All right, all right. Yeah, art fair project.
Behind you, breathing on your head. David, I'm Brad Bernhard. David Fisher has been publishing articles in Fine Woodworking about carving your own bowl from a green log. I don't know if anybody has paid attention to those. He's got a video series. And I had even bought a cheap ads off of Etsy to do that project and never got around to it. And in December this year, we got the February issue of Fine Woodworking, and he published an article on making a carved bowl from a plank. So that appealed to me, and I decided to do it for a Christmas present for somebody. And the dimensions on this, the plank was 2 inches by 6 inches by 21. And it's all done with hand tools. And so as I made a huge amount of carving chips, my wife came into my shop and saw it and thought it was quite cool. So she became the recipient of this gift. I have to run with that when I hear those kind of comments. So this is black walnut, and I had a lot of walnut left over from different projects over the years, so I probably have enough to carve several of these. But the tools that are involved in making this, besides a compass, I predominantly used a block plane, a draw knife, which I brought in, and a couple different gouges and a gooseneck scraper. And if any of you did the class that I taught on how to put a burr on a scraper, I don't think we did a gooseneck, and that's quite a challenge to even on a small section. But the cool thing about this project is it was all done with hand tools. I even roughly dimensioned the lumber using a handsaw I bought from Ron Bontz years back. And so it really was quite fun. And the carving that's done, the chip carving on the ends is supposed to be a tree. This is pretty much identical to, except I didn't have the same size gouges that he recommended. But I think it's quite cool because you can see all the hand-tooled facets that are on this project. So if you're inclined to, if you get Fine Woodworking magazine and you're inclined towards doing something like this, I definitely would recommend it. Finish that I ended up with, so this is going to be used for food, and the finish is Howard's Butcher Block conditioner. It's a mineral wax and or a mineral oil and a wax product, and then it just needs to be washed out by hand, and you can retreat the wood. And generally the bowls that I've done, I do a lot of bowls on lathes. That type of finish, when you go back and reapply it, it looks just like brand new again. So anyhow, that was the project. And if anybody's interested, this tool, I inherited a bunch of tools from my grandpa, who was a carpenter. He was born in the late 19th century. This tool was patented in the last quarter of the 19th century. Cantello was the maker, and it's a really cool spring-loaded handle for a draw knife. And and I've got a pretty sharp edge on this, so I've used this for a number of projects. If anybody is curious about this, please come up when we're done and take a look. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Dan Linder. My wife and I are taking it upon ourselves to remodel one of our bathrooms. So Hal, you got the PowerPoint?
sitting down for this. I'm tired of standing.
Gary.
He's got it.
Oh, he's got one.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. I have a 16-month-old grandson and had to have something special from Grandpa on for Christmas. It didn't get done for Christmas, but that's the beauty of a 16-month-old. He doesn't know it's Christmas if it's late. So just a pine one by. Coincidentally, the knot landed where the saddle would be, and then I painted it up with whatever, braided the mane, and painting it is a lot easier than braiding a real mane. I've been there and done it, and not to mention tying the tail. And then I put wheels on it. That was just, I went to Hobby Lobby to try to buy wheels, and they only has little bitty ones. I thought those will never hold up. So I just took a hole saw and punched out a bunch on my drill press. I got the pegs to mount them with and spaced them with some nice shiny washers. And hopefully, if it gets broken, it can be repaired and the grain lays down. So pretty thick here, and by putting the board on there, they won't get snapped off as easily anyway. So hopefully, and then the little eye screw there is, the idea is to put a lead rope on there, piece of leather shoestring, and he can tow it. And I may build a cart for it later, I don't know. But anyway.
Okay, for this bathroom remodel requires a new vanity, and so I had some leftover quarter-sawed white oak from the mission-style bedroom set that I made. So this is the style my wife wanted. She didn't want any doors; she wanted drawers. And as you know, you still got to go around the plumbing. So I'll show that to you. But and then the side which you see of this vanity, this vanity is only exposed on two sides. That is shop-made veneer, and I have another picture to show that. And if this has a style name, I'm going to call it Modern Arts and Crafts, because the styles protrude and give a shadow line from the rest of the wood, so it protrudes from the rails, and the rails and the doors are all flush. Next chart, next. So that's the back of it. You can see the top two drawers have 8 sides to them, so they can go around the different plumbing. And this shows also that I built the casement separate from the toe kick. That's how I prefer to build my cabinetry. It makes it a little easier. And on the interiors, casement's made from UV plywood, so that way you don't need to finish the wood. It's finished already. And the shop-made veneer, I adhered that also to a sheet of 1/2-inch plywood. Next chart. So there's just a beauty shot of that handle. I think it looks neat. Drawer pull. Next shot. And then so there's the veneer as it's laid out prior to gluing. These pieces were made from one board about 9 inches wide that I ripped with my bandsaw, but it had a nasty knot in it. So I had to, each piece after I ripped it on a bandsaw, then I ripped them again using the table saw to cut that knot out. And the grain match is pretty nice. But what I did so that I wouldn't get any chip out when I'm cutting the shop-made veneer, I used a piece of scrap plywood and the same width of the finished size, and then I had a cleat to put, so I used it like a push stick, put it on top of that and ran it across the table saw, and I received no chip out, so it worked well. Thank you. 1/8 inch.
When you're building toys, you have to be concerned about whether any loose parts or parts that can come off of that toy would be a choke hazard. And you've all seen the warnings about don't give this to kids under the age of 3 and that type of thing. To determine whether a part is a choke hazard or not, you need one of these little fixtures like this. It's round. It's got a hole in it that goes down to about to here. And that hole does not have a flat bottom on it. It's got a tapered bottom on it like that. And you put that part in there, and if it sets below this surface right here, then it's considered to be a choke hazard. And so it's kind of a handy little gadget. I started building some traffic cones and realized all of a sudden they were going to disappear into this thing. So I had to put a big base on them so that they wouldn't fall down in here. And but if you're building toys, keep that thought in mind. There's a couple of these things out in the shop in that cabinet marked Christmas toys in the top drawer. Feel free to use them. Just bring them back when you're done.
Yep, that might be cool. Okay, you hear me now? So on the kitchen counter in our kitchen, we used to have this. This is a food wrap box, and it's been there for 10 years because it's 3,000 lineal feet. And it takes a while to get through that much food wrap when there's just the two of you. So for Christmas, I built my wife a replacement box using some leftover red oak out of Jay's attic. And I used a skill that I learned from box making session that was given, training session that was given several years ago. And it turned out pretty nice. But it's, I used golden, Midwax golden pecan stain and did a polyurethane finish on it.
Is it painted or inlaid?
Oh, and my wife added the stenciling on it. So it was just, I did the stain, she did the stenciling, and then I did the finish over that, the stenciling to protect the final finish. Okay?
Great.
That's great.
So is this on? Yeah. So the last meeting I brought in a jig that I made for segments. This is what I was able to make with the trying to learn how to turn. This is my first experience, so but it's coming along. Anyhow, thank you.
Very nice.
I turned a small bowl. What's unique about it is where the wood came from. It's pistachio. So I always like to do something, you know, strange woods or something you haven't seen before. And it turned out it's pretty colorful. John Ferreira brought the wood back from a trip he made out to the area west out in Arizona. So he saw somebody with a tree in their yard that was removing it and, you know, talked them out of a couple chunks and he shared it. This one I normally, it's got a finish on it that I normally don't use, but it's that polyacrylic water-based finish. And it actually turned out pretty nice. It's easy to do because it dries so fast. And you put enough coats on, you can eventually polish it so it looks decent. But it dries so fast that you always have brush marks in it. So you're going to be faced with, if you want a smooth surface, doing some fine sanding afterwards to get rid of the brush strokes. So, thank you.
This is a pepper mill I made recently. I've made about 3 of them recently. This one
is Brazilian rosewood. What makes it special to me is it's been off the market for 30 years. And it used to be the holy grail of tone woods, and Martin guitars used it a lot, and this was a solid block of it. In fact, right here, where it's different from this dark piece is different from the wood, was filled up with black epoxy by Johnny Ferrara. That's when I decided to go ahead and turn it, though the top is Hollywood. It's 14 inches high, and I haven't used it yet, and quite likely I never will. But they are functional.
All right. All right. That means it's raffle time.
You hear me? All right. All right, guys. We have the board, if you hadn't looked, is Babinga. By the way, the wood was provided to us, donated by UPIC, one of our sponsors. And then the t-shirt goes with it as well, extra large. That's all we got. And then also I've got two gift cards. These are reward cards, so they have dates on them. Be aware. $50 each. And then also Rockler donated to us these clamps. There's a pack of 6. We have 3 of them. They actually donated several boxes, so you'll be seeing this over the next several months. But you have a chance to win one of those as well. All right, someone who didn't buy any tickets. That could be me. Okay. Thank you. Last 4 digits, 9702. We have a winner.
We have a winner.
Do you know what you'd like? We have the board, like I said, or reward cards?
The reward cards for Rockler?
They're Rockler at $50. Okay. And you get to draw? I'll pick that one up. All right. Thank you. The number is 9718. We have a winner. All right. Ticket number? All right, very good. You want the 50 or, there's, like I said, Babinga? If you want that, you can just leave it and pick it up at the end so you don't have to deal with it. All right, he's going to take the board. All right, draw a number for me. Nine, 609. We have a winner.
So what do we have left?
We have a $50 gift, a reward card.
Or the clamps.
Or the clamps.
I'll do the gift card.
Okay, and draw for me. All right, we have clamps left. So, thank you. 9661.
Here we go in the back. Get your pick on which box you want.
Yeah, I should spread them out for you.
Yeah.
Got that exact box for Christmas.
Yeah, well, no. All right, here you go. You can never have too many clamps.
No.
That's what I've heard.
9715.
You know how many clamps you need? One more than you have.
Still more.
Whoop,
I got lucky
You can only win once a night.
Oh, did you already win? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to, yeah.
Yep.
But you can pull the next number
Yep.
for me, yeah. All right. 9634.
Let's go earlier. Man. Yeah, 9-6.
Are there
I'd
9
go-
fives
let's
or
get
what?
the yeah, 9-5.
Oh, I don't know. All right, very good. And last number. Apparently you're supposed to dig deeper here. Just so you know, I didn't mix them up. You know. Several of us. Oh, 9613. That's real close to another one, wasn't it? No.
Oh, there we go. Another one in the back.
Same winner? Okay, you already won once?
No,
Oh, you didn't.
he
Okay.
hasn't, no.
Yeah. But that table did.
Yeah.
All right. I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is Scott Berlinger. Gonna teach us about SketchUp. And we have a half hour left on the silent auction.
Okay.
Before we get to Scott, Bill has got a couple presentations.
Certificates.
The fundamentals class these days is building two projects, a tool tote with hand-cut dovetails and a shaker table. For each of the participants who completes their shaker table, and they do have to submit a photo to verify that it's truly done, we have a certificate of completion, and we have several to give out tonight. Two. Well, that's almost several.
But there's only two here.
The most recent is Bob Coulter. Please come up. Thank you, sir. And Bill Broham from the previous class finished his and wasn't here the last time we gave these out.
Thank you very much.
Great job, guys. Thank you.
Wonderful class. I loved it. Thank you.
Spread the word. We'll raise the fee.
Scott, take it away.
Hey, how's my mic? Okay. We're going to do a little bit on SketchUp tonight. I thought what we'd do is kind of walk you through how I've been using it for the last 15 years or so. And it starts out, computer-aided design was a big thing more in architectural, urban planning, that sort of thing. And the original CAD programs were basically two-dimensional products that we used in architecture and laid out rooms, buildings, walls, etc. SketchUp for woodworkers, what I'd like to try and do tonight is just cover a little bit about what we've done, the way I use it, which, by the way, is not the right way to use it, because there is no right way to use. Like any computer tool, there's 14 different ways to do anything. I've just found that these are ways that makes it easy for me to get things done and gets to the point where I don't even have to think when it comes to actually building now. I've already got it laid out and in my mind and in 3D. So what I want to try and do tonight is just kind of help you understand what SketchUp can do for you
and what it costs, because there is definitely a cost to this product, even though the version I use is free. I've got several of my models. We'll kind of walk through a few of them. I'll show you a few things here and there which has helped me on several of my projects. Quick history. SketchUp was first released in 2000 for urban planners. Google was interested in it because early on when Google was doing Google Earth, they thought, oh, this would be kind of cool to have people model buildings, model scenes, etc., that they could then drop into Google Earth, because this was before iPhones and cameras and, you know, simple ability now to take a photo and drop it in. So Google acquired it. They had it, they left it as free. They did sell a pro version of it, which was meant primarily for architects, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Trimble, God love Trimble, they acquired SketchUp from Google, and they've ruined it. In 2012, they picked it up. Over the years, they've basically got rid of the free version. So the version I use is 2017. It's the last downloadable version. They currently have a web-based version, and they've been actively seeking to force users into the paid versions. So, and in 2020, they went from a paid version to a subscription version. So now you can pay for it every year. Yeah, a lot of money. So, this is where I've taken a look at SketchUp and said, you know what? The ability to model things in 3D and be able to look at it, and we'll walk through the Hall Bench project here in a minute, and accurately, I don't even have to dimension half my stuff. I lay out the outside sides maybe, or the back or the front or whatever I'm looking at, and I start to build in. And I don't even worry about dimensions. I just add them later. As I develop each of the individual pieces, I can add in all of the joinery. I can get all my mortises, tenons, and everything laid out. I don't have to worry about fit. I know exactly how it's going to fit by the time I'm ready to start mortising something. One thing that I found very useful is I simulated a build sequence. I did a kitchen pantry where I took the doors out and put in adjustable drawers, and the pantry wasn't the least bit plumb or level. So I used SketchUp to help me lay out the build sequence on this so that I knew in advance what I needed to cut first and then what I needed to final cut later after I got initial pieces in. Turns out that was really helpful. You do have a way to create cut lists. Sort of works. And the one thing I want to bring up is, boy, you can build models and you can play with it to your heart's content. We used to call this in IT design paralysis. I mean, literally, you can go for some of my models, I have to actually hit myself and say, no more, you're done. Okay, my background, technology and production. I did a lot of production art in my younger days. Do a lot of stuff with a parallel board, portable parallel board with all the architectural drafting tools, and looked at a couple of the 2D modeling tools back then. Specifically, there was DesignCAD and TurboCAD, and they were 2D DOS-based, and they sucked. They were totally useless. What I found, though, was I was Chief Information Officer at HPE Corp., and we were an architectural engineering and construction firm. Built primarily hospitals, did bank buildings for a while, and did medical office buildings. We also owned the Adams Mark hotel chain, and so we built the hotels. What we were doing was we were one of the largest Autodesk AutoCAD users in the country. And we were getting a lot of feedback from potential clients and clients about 3D modeling. So we decided to institute a 3D conversion project to go from Autodesk's AutoCAD to their new product, Revit. Now, we also have, a half a dozen people that we called project designers. They really don't use CAD. They were doing foam boards. If you've seen the foam board models that architects like to do, and the colored markers and stuff, what we wanted to do was replace that. So one of the kids who was one of our project designers, Brody, he and I looked at several 3D packages trying to see what might work well for HBE. And Brody was the one who said, you know what, I think SketchUp could actually work for us. So we bought SketchUp in early 2009 and then started to do a class to teach our 6 project designers, 5 plus Brody, how to use it. Training experience. Revit training, well, I built a dedicated training room, had 20 PCs, these things, very high end at the time with dual monitors, and we did Revit training for over 150 production architects and engineers in various disciplines. And it went very well. We did the first SketchUp class, and to say we had a mutiny was probably putting it kind of nice. What it turned out was the Revit students all spoke the same language. They were all AutoCAD experts, and they all knew the technology. So converting from 2 to 3D was the biggest issue for them, but they had such a common structured background that they picked up on it very easily, and they were able to mentor each other. My SketchUp students, besides Brody, I had 2 that kind of knew technology. I had one guy who never, we just told Bill, don't even worry about it. I took his copy. And he had Brody do his 3D models for him. And it was my daughter, the teacher, said, you're trying to teach 3rd through 8th graders advanced math. And most of them haven't even been through basic math. So it turned out, what we did was we had bought a Bible. There was one SketchUp book at the time that had just come out when the Pro version came out, and it was very, very good because it gave examples for an urban planner, which was really kind of what our design architects needed, because they're working in feet, and they're doing an outside the building, model. And then we had a couple of guys that actually went inside and mocked up a couple of hospital rooms and nurses' stations and that sort of thing. So we went through the Bible, and they worked on that on their own, and Brody and I kind of mentored them as they had questions. Then we did a class, in fact, it was a series of classes. It ended up about 6 days. It was broken up 3 hours here, half a day there, and people came and go because they had real jobs to do. But we did it over about 6 to 8 weeks, and we got 5 of the 6 pretty literate in SketchUp. Like I said, Bill, we just said, Brody will help you. And that approach ended up working well. We took a couple of small projects that we had done. There was a small hospital we did in Hawaii and another one in Michigan. And we took those. They had foam board models for them. So we took those and we did some SketchUp models. And that worked out pretty well. Takeaway. I could still build most of my projects initially on paper quicker, doing a quick layout and boom, 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 and kind of getting an idea. The key is when you're starting to modify it, and when you want to try to look at it from multiple views. This is where SketchUp, in my mind, really offsets it. Detailed models, increased accuracy, significantly improved wood yields. I was buying an extra 10% easily on wood just for screw-ups on measuring and what have you. Eliminated a lot of extra trips to St. Charles Hardwood and UPick. One thing I did find was a SketchUp Bible is required. Now my Bible was this little puppy. SketchUp for Woodworkers came out in 2010, and it's no longer in no longer available. I haven't been able to find it anywhere. But they do have a 2012 version. I have no idea if it's as good as this one, but this one took you through Woodworker and took you through the basic steps, and he came up with plans for you to work on. In fact, he even included a CD that had the models on it. So this thing was great for me because even though I knew SketchUp, I didn't know how to use it for a woodworker. And there are some differences. So that Bible, I still use it today. Also, in the meantime, numerous YouTube videos. If you look on YouTube for SketchUp Woodworkers, or a guy by the name of Justin Geis, he's not really a woodworker, but he did a whole series of SketchUp videos for woodworkers. And he did a really nice job on them. There's also YouTube videos from Square One. They're not related to woodworkers at all, but they go through all the basic functions of SketchUp, everything you see on the toolbar. They walk through you and show you how to handle it with basically boxes and cylinders and that sort of thing. And by the way, the one thing that I'll tell you right now is you've got to have a computer system that has some 3D graphics capabilities. Most new computers within the last 5 years or so shouldn't be a problem. Older than that, you may have some issues, and it may not run the SketchUp models. My environment, 2017. It's free. It's the last downloadable version of SketchUp. You can still get it on places like CNET. There is a web version that's free, and to be charitable, it sucks. I used it for about 20 minutes and said, yeah. Number one, well, you can't save files locally. You have to go out and put them on their cloud. There's also a SketchUp Pro version, which, like I said, is now a yearly subscription. That's $119, $349, or $749 a year. I could buy an awful lot of wood for that. Well, not so much anymore. The downside of 2017, no longer supported or updated by Trimble. Hasn't been. No guarantee it'll run on future Windows versions. I have a brand new machine that I just built that runs Windows 11 with a really high-end graphics card for Fusion 360, and I'm starting to see some internal lines in some of my models. I don't know if it's Win 11. I think it's probably just the video card, maybe a little overpowering on SketchUp. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but it's just a little annoying, not too bad. There's an iPad app that SketchUp that Trimble has that still runs the 2017 models. I don't know how much longer that'll work. There is a great 3D warehouse that Google started way back when, and there are literally tens of thousands of user-supplied SketchUp models. And they were always very easy to download and incorporate in your model if you were looking for a sample chair or a hinge or something. Trimble has made that exceptionally difficult now. Now you download it. Yeah, most of the models are free. Very few of them. I don't think I've ever run across one that had a charge with it. But Trimble, in their infinite wisdom a couple of years ago, changed the process. Now basically you go in to the 3D warehouse, you download it as a SketchUp model, and then you open it up in 2017 with a free extension that you download from SketchUp Extension Warehouse called Open Newer View, or Newer Version. And that will actually get it in. Otherwise, SketchUp 17 can't open these new models. The other thing, when I first put this together, I said, I don't know who's still using Win 7. I doubt anybody is. I don't think anybody probably still has a 32-bit machine, but they may. SketchUp requires 64 bits. It needs 4 gig of RAM. This has 16 gig in it, and you'll see that sometimes it's a little slow. It requires a 512 meg graphics card. This one has 1 gig, and it has to be able to run OpenGL 3.0, which is another, just a driver behind the scenes to make the 3D work. I recently, I'm using this computer because my laptop died when I started to put this all together. So this computer, fortunately, hadn't gone up to Best Buy's recycle bin yet. I was able to dig a hard drive out and put it in and rebuild the damn thing so I could do this tonight. So I know it works. Now, the good thing is Trimble does have a program called SketchUp Checkup that you can download. And if you run that on your machine, and it says that SketchUp will run, it's actually meant for the newer versions of SketchUp, but if it says it'll run that, I can tell you right now it'll run 2017. My environment also includes a dual monitor setup. This is nice to have. Those are 24-inch monitors. The left monitor is where I do my drawing pane. The right monitor is where I do the trays, and these are just, you'll see them when I get into the model in a minute. These are just trays for stuff that I use all the time. So I'm always going to scenes, I'm always going to components, I'm always using materials. I do a lot with layers. I don't do much with Outliner anymore because it's an old version, and boy, when you get a big model, it's really hard to find stuff in it. Okay, a couple of other things. It's not designed for woodworkers. So I created a custom woodworker template. That means I got rid of all these colored backgrounds. Why waste the ink? So I got a white background. I customized the toolbars to give me just the tools that I need because I'm not an urban designer or a design architect. I customized trays to put on my second monitor. I customized some shortcut keys. There's a capability in SketchUp to do custom keys. Already, keystrokes are already set for a lot of things, but things like I do a lot of extracting to 2D images, and I just set the X key up to do that. I also have a 5-button mouse, which you can do it with a 2-button mouse, but I'll tell you what, this is a hell of a lot easier. And these buttons are programmable, although that's outside of SketchUp. I defined all my text, dimension types, fonts, etc. I did that all up front so that it's easy for me to read. I also set units as fractional inches, and I set them to a 64th of an inch, and I'll show you why in a little while. I tried to come up with some standardized conventions for file names. I started out doing it the way we did it at HPE, where we start out with ID or initial design, then version 2, version 3, version 4, whatever, as we had owner change orders come through, and then the final version was AB, as built. It ended up, I took up a lot of disk space and never looked at anything but as built. So I said, to hell with it, and just quit, and I just have one model now. I came up with a way to label my components so that I could find things easily. So some of my names might look a little funky, but it helps me find things when it's a big model. I also standardized layer names, view names, and I created some custom wood lists because SketchUp, the default wood list has got like 6 different woods in it, and they're not much. Okay. With that, here's my hall benches. Over here on the right are the trays that I had on the second monitor. Tray 1 is my list of components. Tray 2 is my list of scenes. 3 are my woods, materials, and there are other materials besides woods. I mean, you can get a number of different. I just use this for most of them. And then tray 4 basically does my different layers. So if we go through, this is my, and you'll notice up here at the top, all of my scenes are laid out. So as I go from right to left, I go from front view to a top view to a bottom view. Oh, by the way, I'm hiding things. So I'm turning things off and on as I go to each of these different views, which I control as part of the view. So come around to the side, we go to the back. Now I start to lay out my pieces, and you'll have to excuse this a little bit. My new computer has a higher resolution graphics card. So when I downloaded all of this to this computer, it didn't go back to 1440 by 980 or whatever it is. It kept it at 1920. So it's a little bit, I can kind of scroll it down to show you. So I was having trouble seeing the detail on routing these parallel grooves here in the backs of the hall benches. So I just went ahead and set up another scene that just zoomed in so I could see them easier. Now I start in on, here's my sides, my different dividers and things. This is stuff that I coated it yellow because this is my inventory. I had a piece of AC plywood sitting around, and these stretchers and crown supports aren't going to be seen, so I didn't care. Then, in a stroke of brilliance, after I'd already put the carcasses together, I decided to put doors. So originally, there were no doors at the top. I thought, that looks kind of dumb. I had to put some doors on. So I had to go through, and now, after the thing was already partially built, come back and figure out my doors. So what I did was, just to make sure that the thing fit tightly, I modeled the doors. And, laid out, I wanted a 16-inch gap between them. I normally don't model hardware, but I added the hinges because they do add a little bit when you're actually, fitting the doors in. And I wanted to make sure I had that covered. So those came in. Then I looked at, the crown molding. I did a quick SketchUp template of the side of the crown. It's accurate only in the back and the back side of it. Wasn't really too concerned about the front. And what I did was I took one of the tops and I took one of the upper stretchers and I said, okay, let's work this out so that this thing just fits flat. And from that, I was able to, without even having to measure, I was able to figure out that this crown needed to be 2 3/16 long and 1 11/16 inches wide. And oh, by the way, it's a 37 1/4 degree angle on this. And I'll be damned if that angle wasn't right on when I actually went to the miter saw. Now, just to kind of show you, I just took a flat template, like I said, and I did a push-pull and extruded it. Didn't really need to, but it's like, what the heck. Then I built these things for my daughter and her husband, my granddaughter, and in their mudroom, they had existing hall base, and my hall bench was the same height, so I modeled my cutout for coping so that I could put these things right up against the wall. And finally, I don't know why I do this, but every once in a while, I'll do an exploded view just to get an idea as to the pieces and kind of how things fit. Okay? So that's basically what constitutes the hall bench in SketchUp. And if you look at it, it really is just moving along the x-axis. So you can't see it too well because of all the dimensions. But as I went through each of these, you'll notice dimensions come on here because I've got them on a separate layer. I can turn them on and off. Like I said, I can unhide. And just by clicking on it again, I rehide it. So it really, in my case, does a nice job of laying things out down to almost an anal amount of detail, I hate to admit.
Excuse me, but we have 10 minutes left before the silent auction stops.
Oh, okay. So I think we got everything here, incremental design. I started with design on this was the two sides. I found a hull bench that Woodsmith had done years ago, and I used that as the basis to give me the height and the width and what have you. So that kind of, from that I kind of worked in. I knew that my back was going to be 1/4-inch plywood, birch plywood, so I knew that I'm going to cut it at 24 inches, so the back had better be a little less than that if I'm going to put a rabbet on there. I think I showed you the scenes keep you oriented, you can hide. Moving objects is an art. Let's go back to, because this is always fun. You go over here, and I pull something out, and I set it up there. And that base mold just came out. If I want to move that, I grab it, and I go like that. Well, guess what? It doesn't always move exactly where you want it to move. And it takes a little while to kind of figure out. And I'll tell you what, every once in a while you get to a point where you get into this, and you go, where the heck am I? And that's why I've got the scenes, because I can say, oh, that's where I was before I got lost. So that's, like I said, moving objects is an art. You got to get used to it. I've talked a little bit, I mentioned components. Components are your friends. They're an integrated object. They're not just planes and lines and shades and da-da-da. They're actual objects like legs, tops, fronts, stiles, etc. I'll show you this in a second. Components keep two adjacent objects from getting sticky where they won't come apart. And components have a lot of attributes to them, including the 3 dimensions, the material, the layer. You want to lock it, you can lock it. There are a number of attributes that you can assign to a component. Identical components, like a leg, are simply instances of the component. So if I've got a component called leg, and I got 4 of them on the table, if I want to make that leg 2 inches longer, I change only one, and they all change. So you don't have to go back and change them over again. They can also model things other than wood. And you can model a lot of stuff, as you saw in that first slide. Objects can alternatively be grouped. And some people talk about groups. And the thing I don't like about groups is they're individual. So if you're doing a leg, you do 4 legs. And they're individual. And so if you want to change a leg, you got to change it all 4 times. So it's like, I don't use it, except I did make the doors for the hull benches. I did make them a group, just so that I wasn't moving around 5 different components every time. Here's my components. I've got 78 instances of 27 unique wooden components. And you can see, like, take the base front left and the base front right. They are different because base front right has a right angle, has a miter on the right side. On the left, it's miter on the left. So they're actually separate components. Whereas things like door panel, I got 4 of them, and they're identical. So I only have 1 component called door panel. So and you'll notice I kind of use it as when we get into it, I have a label that I manually attach to each piece just to help me keep track. And then I kind of say, what is the thing? Like, it's a stretcher, it's a door panel, it's a stretcher hook or a crown support or whatever. And I try to keep them with some kind of a high-level name so that they kind of group together nicely. And they show up in my components list in kind of an alphabetical order, so I'm not having to look for them quite so much. So this is how the 78 components show up, or instances, I should say. I mentioned you can do other things. I normally don't model hardware, but I did model the hinge. And I basically took it, and it's not an exact duplicate of the hinge, but from a thickness standpoint, it's right on. One of the things I modeled a long time ago, or in fact I downloaded from the warehouse, was a drawer slide. And I use these all the time when I'm trying to lay out drawers and slides and check dimensions and that kind of thing. And the nice thing about the drawer slide is I downloaded it once, and I don't remember how long it was, 20 inches, whatever. But SketchUp has a function called scale, where I can take that slide and I can say, let's take it and make it 25 inches instead of 20 inches. Or let's make it 2 inches tall instead of 1 5/8 inches. Or standard drawer slide's a 1/2 inch. If it's a little bit more than that, I can make it wider or narrower. So here's a case where I downloaded it once and just use it over and over again. I modeled my shop floor plan when I did my dust collection system. And this one is not accurate to a 64th of an inch, I'll tell you right now. But it did tell me how much 6-inch and 4-inch pipe I needed to buy, how many 45-degree angles and 22.5-degree angles I needed, how many blast gates I needed to build. And when I went to Menards to buy the pipe and the stuff, I already had my list made out of exactly what I needed, which worked out pretty well. Also, when I did my dust collector, I bought one of the cheap Harbor Freights, and I turned it into a two-stage with a thin baffle, and some wonderful person downloaded a Harbor Freight, accurate Harbor Freight model to the 3D warehouse. And it was componentized, so I was able to take it apart, move the things around so that I could get accurate measurements for that component cart. Really helped a lot. I didn't have to physically take the thing apart until later. Printing sucks. My problem with printing is it's all over the map. Sometimes it works great, some models it doesn't work at all. And this is an example. That front seam that I showed you, my hall benches, this is kind of how it shows up on the print. Real small, because they're primarily vertical and it's doing the horizontal. When I do stuff like my wood layouts, they're primarily horizontal, so they tend to fill up the page pretty nicely. I got tired of that, and because I've used PowerPoint for 100 years, basically I go in and I take each of these scenes and I do a file export to a 2D graphic, which in this case is a PNG file, which is just like a JPEG, but SketchUp's default is PNG, and I get tired of going in and changing it to JPEG. And then I put them into PowerPoint, and I can resize them bigger than the page is going to print because it's all white space. So in PowerPoint, that front view actually shows up full size, very large, and I can read it. Cut list creation. There's a couple of them. I've used cut list for years. It's really pretty basic, but it does give you a nice CSV file if you want to have a file of each of your pieces and sizes and materials and what have you. There's one that I started playing around with called Open Cut List, which is why I've got one of the reasons why I've got kind of the funny colors on the SketchUp pieces, because it assigns different materials based on the colors that you use. So my 3/4 inch plywood is one color, and it knows then that that's 3/4 inch. The 1/4 inch plywood is a slightly different color. The 3/4 hardwood that I used is that darker brown, and then I never did model the white for the base and the crown molding because I kind of knew what I needed there. So that worked out pretty well. The only problem was they didn't cover my unique needs. Oh, by the way, there's also automated cut list creation programs that are third party. I played with a couple of them, XCut and Cut List Optimizer. Here you've got to create a CSV file in their format. You run it through their program, and they'll give you a really nice cut list for the most part. They're targeted for cabinet shots. The free versions are kind of limited. Like I said, on the cut list optimizer, you get 5 calculations a day, and then you're done. You can't use it again until the next day. I used it. I don't know that I use them again. My automated cut list is still Visio. I take my inventory lists that I've produced in SketchUp, and my problem with the cut list was, you'll notice these 2 green things. Those are my sides, and I wanted to do them out of one piece. I didn't want to have to glue on a bump out or glue on the top. And when I started laying it out, all the cut list optimizer wanted to chew up the only thing I could get out of a piece of 4x8 plywood, which was $100 a piece, was the 2 sides. So I was now into one other piece of plywood potentially. So what I did was I laid it out in Visio, and then I took it to Lowe's, and when I bought it, they cut it for me into the main pieces, and I put it on my track saw and did my final cuts. So in my case, I still use Visio for my cut list for the most part. Next project, I'm going to try cut list optimizer. I'm not sure it's going to work or not. Just some random things I learned. As I said, you get lost in big models, scrolling around, moving, zooming, etc. That's why I do a lot of scenes, so that I can always get back to some kind of a starting place. If you zoom in and out over the cursor with the cursor, and you're not over a specific object. So for instance, if I go over here and I try to zoom, I may get it, I may not get it. If you've got to zoom, you really need to be right over some sort of an object to be able to get to it easily. I generally work, like I said, outside in. I move most dimensions to separate layers, turn them on only when I need them, because when you start rotating these scenes, I wish that thing would stay up. When you start rotating these scenes, if you're not turning these dimensions off and on, you start to get all kinds of extra dimensions showing up. Makes it really difficult to see. So I tend to put them on a separate layer. I also create, like I showed you, I create those separate dimension scenes where I show you each of my pieces laid out with the joinery identified and some dimensions and what have you. Also, don't forget to update the scene. If you change something, you need to update the scene, or it says, well, I forgot all about what you just did. And there are several free extensions in the SketchUp Woodworkers not woodworking, but the SketchUp extension warehouse. I've downloaded Bezier Curve cut list, optimized cut list. There's a extension called Weld. There's an extension called Mirror that I use quite a bit. So there are a number of useful things in SketchUp's extension warehouse. Moving components can be tricky. As I kind of showed you, moving stuff around, I tend to do things in multiple passes. I'll move one direction, I'll stop, and then I'll move another direction, because it just helps me stay in a lot easier. And you got to be careful selecting, because you'd be surprised how many times I've accidentally gone over to the components list, and I was just looking at components and didn't realize I just dragged that component into my model. Tends to be a pain in the neck, but you sort of get used to it over time. You do it often enough, and eventually it's just duh. I tend to hide multiple components. Like I said, I do this a lot. I rarely use the X-ray view. There is an X-ray view, and also there are some other views that you can do. if I want to do X-ray, let's see if I get it. Yeah, see, here's where I'm starting to show. So you can do multiple different kinds of views. The thing I tend to use X-rays on is if I'm doing like a mortise and tenon and it's in the middle of a piece of wood, I can do the X-ray and I can zoom in. I don't have any mortises and tenons in this one. Yeah. So I can grab the object. Come on. I can grab the object and I can move it and I can see it internally that it's lining up. And by the way, if you grab it in the corner, it makes it a lot easier to line it back up. So those are just a couple of the things that go on where it takes a while to get used to this. You can also turn it into monochrome if you want to. I set precision at 1/64 of an inch. I used to model plywood at 3/4, half, and 1/4 inch. Ran into all kinds of problems when you start to get into details because now things are all of a sudden off. I found it easier just to do it in the actual thicknesses. 4/4 plywood is 13/16 of an inch, unless I mill it to 1 inch. Nominal thicknesses, I tend to stay away from them considerably. I used to dimension everything. It got to the point where it was really difficult to sometimes read the dimensions. So now I do a lot of stuff. I still do probably too many dimensions, but I do, let's get back to, now I tend to do it more in, I do a lot of things with, notes. So rather than just adding dimensions, I do a top shelf base dados are all 1/2 inch stop. So rather than model everything and say, oh, this is not 11 1/2 inches, it's only 11 1/4 inches. I found it a lot easier just to start doing this and getting rid of some of these dimensions. Dimensions can get messy. I guess I should have showed that while I was. One of the things you can do with the dimension is if it's in the way, you can actually move it to the start or the end if you're getting dimensions overlaying. So I do that a lot. I also make a lot of use of guidelines. These are tape measures that I'll show you. If we got time, I'm going to show you how I model. Okay. You know what? Let's just go to that. As I said, I generally don't model hardware. 5-button mouse is great. This is kind of the way I laid it out. And let's go back and take a look at, real quick, this is a product from that I downloaded, the Woodworker. And he does it a little different. So like I said, there is no really right way or wrong way to do this. When I did the pantry, I start turning on layers. So I could see my build sequence. Oh, that was the wrong one. Let's go back to, yeah. Here's a guy who did, there's the model I did for my drill press to put wheels on it. So like I said, I do just about everything in SketchUp these days. If we go back to the hall bench, I'm going to, if we got time, let's start this. I'm going to add a divider to that upper upper cabinet that had a doors on it. So I'm going to go here to my upper shelf, and I'll show you how I do this. I just basically go in, I double click on it, I go to tape measure, and I go boom, and I find the center point, which is right there. Oop. Then I go back 23/64. Try that again. 23/64. Yeah, this was wrong. Let's get rid of that one. I'm not used to this keyboard. Okay. So 23/64 and 23/64. So now I've got a 23 and 23 30 seconds. Okay, so what I want to do is come down to here and lay that out. Now if I go in and do a line, I can go boom, boom, yep. So now I use push-pull, and I, whoop, darn it. Right. I can't see this too well with my, oh, the, let's take that line and that line, and we'll try it again. This time I'll draw them a little longer. There we go. Yep. Now if I do a push-pull, I can just simply push that down 3/8 of an inch. So now my top shelf has a dado in it. Now, not only does that shelf have a dado in it, my other top shelf has a dado in it too, because those are two instances of the same component. Now I can do the same thing. Let's get rid of the guidelines. Do the same thing on the bottom, and I can come back over here to the back. And I mean, literally, you see that the one that I've already put the dado in shows up here. And what I'm going to do, because we're running out of time, is I'm going to draw a little box. Come on back. And I'm just going to go right here. Right down there, and I'll come over. You know what? Let's just pull it. Out of time?
We're out of time.
Out of time.
Yep.
Well, I wanted to show how easy this was, but it's Having a little problem with it. I'm not used to this keyboard.
Are you gonna provide that presentation?
Yeah, I guess I could. Hey, Todd, can we put the presentation on the website?
Sorry, what was the question? Can you put the presentation on the website?
Okay, I'll put it on the website.
I'll send you a link. There's 2010 version of the document you were talking about. We can get it for free.
Oh, you still have it?
It's online.
Oh, really? Oh. Surprise. By the way, if you create something and you don't make it a component, when you want to move it, here's what it does. And I go move, and it goes, oh, now it works.
Give your thanks and all that.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. We feel you're successful even if you can't do it.
Yeah, if you put them together. Now if you want to move it. Oh, now it's actually working. Oh, there it goes. If they're not components, they're just sticky objects. So they'll tend to do you in. It gets very frustrating. Okay. Oh, by the way, anybody that's thinking about Fusion 360, you better get yourself one hell of a computer. Because the minimum requirements won't even begin to cut it. I worked with Autodesk for 9 years, and their minimum requirements are a lie. So what's there and recommended is 32 gig of memory, 8 gig of GPU memory, very high resolution, 4K resolution on your monitors. So, okay. That it?
Thank you.
People that bid on the silent auction, if you won the stuff, make sure you pay Tom.